Next, we're going to get an update from the National Coatings Group, and this from Jeff Pouliot. Jeff has 39 years of experience in engineering and has worked for Florida DOT since December of 1994. He's currently AASHTO Subcommittee of Bridges and Structures T9 and a member of the T1 Technical Subcommittee for Bridge Security, and also on the T18 Subcommittee for Bridge Management and Evaluation and Rehabilitation. So, Jeff.
Okay, this is an update for the activities of the AASHTO TSP2 National Bridge Preservation Partnership Coatings Group. What we've done the last year and where we're going. The presentation is roughly divided into these parts over here. I want to talk about the group activities over the last year, the short-term goals, which is really better quality workmanship, longer lasting coatings, which saves money. Long-term goals are implementation of higher performance coating systems that are going to last longer and save more money, and our game plan moving forward. One of the things that I reported on last year and that we've been working on for the last several years is this domestic scan, bridge recoating best practices, which I have written down here, began in October 2015. It actually began in 2014 when Richard said to me, he said, wouldn't it be cool if you had a scan tour? And of course I took the bait, and he gave me a draft, and he likes to instigate me. And it was really basically bridge repainting best practices, and it was summarily shot down. And so I said, why was it shot down? I started thinking, I said, you know what you gotta do? You gotta lobby for these things. So what I did was I rewrote it. I added recoating because I wanted to include galvanizing and metallizing and possibly anything else that we could think of that wasn't really traditionally paint. And I wanted to, and what I did was I started soliciting endorsements. So I got it was easy for me to get the support of all the various different regional partnerships. And I also got support from T9 because I'm a vice chair of T9, which is the technical subcommittee on bridge preservation. I'm also a member of T18, and I got their support, so SCOBS bought into it, which is the subcommittee on bridges and structures. SCOM, Mr. Jeff Milton, he helped muscle that through. And my good friend out there in California, Mike Johnson, got TRB support. So I put all that down on the proposed domestic scan, and they couldn't refuse it then, so it came into being. So what are we trying to do when we accomplish with this effort? We want to find out which states have the best recoating programs and why. We want to determine the best specifications, determine the best coating systems, determine the best practices. And in order to accomplish this, of course, they had to set up a team. So Harry Capers of AASHTO says, okay, Jeff, we got the scan tour. We're going to be getting started soon. He's trying to arrange a date with me, and I said, I'm not the right person. He said, what do you mean you're not the right person? You're the sponsor. I said, I want to send somebody that really knows what they're talking about. Because really, I'm just a typical bridge guy, and I'm not a coatings expert. But I do have a coatings expert. His name is Paul Vinnick. It's Ivan's boss, and I think he's got a master's degree in chemical engineering. That's his expertise, and so I planted him. And he ultimately became the chair of the scan, so I can do the same thing that Richard does. I can assign people too. And the results of this scan should help owners improve their coating programs and help guide future activities for our group. And of course, if we're going to get results, it's going to tweak what we're going to do in the future. So the scan team has met 4 times since November 2015. They've had 3 teleconferences and 1 face-to-face meeting in Washington, D.C. in December 2015. The scan team plans to host a peer exchange in Orlando in May 2016, which means I'm going to be part of it, which makes me happy, so because it is my baby. The scan team has developed questions and an agenda for the peer exchange. This was very funny because what happened was that one of the key people to developing the questions was Paul Vinnick, the guy I got assigned to it. So he hands me the questions. I said, okay, and I handed it back to him. I said, you can answer these questions better than I can because you know more about the program because you run it. So at any rate, he did, and we're moving forward. The scan team plans to visit NASA's testing facility, which is world-class. It's one of the best in the world, and we get to see it. I've heard a lot about it over the years. The scan team has a scheduled completion date for May 2016, and the report is scheduled to be completed around October 2016. And I don't think there's going to be anything that prevents it from having any significant extensions anyway. The following agencies were asked to participate in the domestic scan as a result of their progressive and proactive coding programs. Number one on the list is the Maryland State Highway Administration for the Warranty and Bond Framework. These people are living the dream. These people are actually warrantying work done by their contractors, and we want to know how they're doing it and how they're accomplishing it. Now, we tried this in Florida. It worked pretty good, but our contracting group is kind of a little reluctant to move forward. So I want to see how they pulled it off, and hopefully this is something that we can consider down the road. Florida, of course, has been included, largely for our warm, aggressive marine and UV environments, which can describe Texas, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, South Carolina, Georgia. Have I left anybody out? But anything along the coast over there fits this description. And also for our experimentation and our implementation of clear coatings with fluoroethylenes. They seem to be working very well for us. It's a relatively expensive system, but they seem to be performing pretty well. Other agencies that are participating is Iowa DOT. I know Norm McDonald very well. We're on T9 together. He's their state bridge design engineer, and they got a great program out there. Indiana DOT, I don't know too much about them, but they wouldn't have made the cut if they weren't good. Matter of fact, there's somebody that's not on the list, and I want to state that before I move forward because I just found out about that yesterday. Virginia DOT is part of this, Jeff Milton. And I'm surprised you didn't make the cut the first time, but I'm delighted that you made it now because I know you guys got a very proactive program. Texas DOT, you guys are rock solid up and down, and we want to include you, and I'm glad you made it. Oregon DOT, Bruce Johnson is the chair of T9. He has a good program out there, and I'm happy they made the cut. And the Kentucky Coatings Research Center, Ted Hopwood's here, and where are you, Ted? Right back there. These people, if you don't know, are some of the key researchers in the coatings area, and we're delighted to have them. And NASA for their extensive testing program and development of innovative coating systems. And of course, you need a little bit of ballast, so we invited the FHWA. Just joking, guys. So, what are some of the global issues that the group is interested in? And this goes way back to the inception of our group. Back, I guess it was in Atlanta a number of years ago. We had the Southeast Bridge Preservation Partnership. I gave a little presentation on coatings. We were moving to weathering steel. We were moving to as a default system to our single coat of inorganic zinc, and I gave the presentation. And someone from North Carolina, what was that lady's name, Richard? Emily McGraw. She said, "So Jeff, what do you do moving forward? I mean, how do we make these decisions?" So what I did was I panicked, and I formed a group. And the group moved forward, and we developed what I'm going to talk about here. But the following year, I was looking to put the group to sunset rest, and my friend back there, Eric Christie, said, "You haven't completed the task, my friend. We want to see some real results and put together something that we can use." He says, "What are your recommendations moving forward?" So this is really where we've discovered at the time, and it still issues today. Engineering evaluations. If you're going to do anything with recoating a structure, you need to find out what the condition of the paint is, particularly if you're going to overcoat. But even if you're going to blast clean, you got to find out what's in the metal and remediate it. Otherwise, you're not going to get a good job. Surface preparation. There's a bunch of NetPet people on my committee, and all they talk about is surface preparation, surface preparation, surface preparation. It is because, it's my understanding, that it probably results in maybe over 50% of the failures. Coating application. That's another one. If you don't do it right, it's not going to last, and you better follow the specifications for that the manufacturer develops. Contract the CEI and owner qualifications. I should have put inspector in here, and I looked at it last night, and I said I didn't include that. See, we're so decentralized in Florida and so privatized, we have very few inspectors, and everything we do at this level is pretty much done by consultants. Although a lot of QA, QC is done by the department. Specifications, you need good specifications. and better coating systems for new construction recoating projects, and that's where the group is trying to head in the future. And I put down the term institutional courage. Can anybody tell me what institutional courage? I got a clue. I mentioned this last year. Anybody? Yeah, in other words, support your inspectors, make them basically, support them, and if you're not getting good work out there, say, Mr. Contractor, you're not performing up to the level that we need. You need to take a look at your QC, your QA plan, make some adjustments, make some changes. This is not a popular thing to do, particularly when a construction project is coming to the end. That's when bridges typically get painted, because it can extend time, and they're facing liquidated damages. But if you want to get a good product, this is what you're going to have to do. It becomes easier over time, because what happens is the contractors will start to pay attention. The good contractors will thrive, and the ones that aren't quite as good, they're going to get better fast. And you need to challenge the low bid culture. What I mean there is this. If you got a better coating system that you can put on a bridge, you ought to do it. Because if you stop to think about it, any recoating project involves mobilization, it involves MOT, and these are major costs. It involves, you're going to have to put in containment, you're going to have disposal, you're going to have to do your service preparation. It costs very little more to put in a better coating system, and you should really consider doing something like that if you want to have better results. What did Einstein say? Unless you do something different, why would you expect different results? So you're really going to have to change if you want to get a better product. So, develop a plan to help owners achieve better results. This is one of our pursuits. We want to convince owners of the benefits for improving coating practices, which is improving the coating system service life. This is going to preserve the structural elements better. It's also going to improve the infrastructure service life overall, particularly if you have steel substructures. It's going to reduce maintenance costs, because moving forward, your maintenance costs are going to be more under control. You're not going to have to paint as often or recoat as often. And it's going to reduce user costs. And that's important too, because those are the people that travel in the public, they get stuck in traffic jams, their cars get painted occasionally by the contractor, they're unhappy, and if you're out there recoating your bridges less, you're not going to be faced with that situation as often. We want to promote the development of improved specifications, promote universal training for inspectors and contractors. What we believe is that NACE and SSPC do the best job of that, and that's the only thing we accept in Florida for training. We want to sponsor research to help owners develop methods to convince legislators of the benefits of bridge preservation activities. This goes way beyond what the coatings group is doing. And what I understand is that every couple of years when we get new legislators, our senior management goes to the legislature and they say, so what are we going to, they want to explain to them that basically, the value of preservation, because they say, why are you spending money on good bridges? The type of thing that Richard was talking about earlier. And they explain, they say, well, if you change the oil in your car, your engine will last longer. And they start working with that scenario. And a lot of the older legislators, they understand this, and we're keeping it going, and that's how we're selling the preservation practices in Florida. And we're apparently doing that pretty well. So what are we pursuing this year? Well, you all voted on this one, which is duplex coating systems, galvanizing and metallizing with top coat. It only came in number 4, but I'm not dissuaded at all, because T9 has identified this as their top research project. I'm going to be doing some lobbying with T18. I understand SCOM has endorsed this one too. Is that correct, Mr. Milton?
I plan to. I haven't yet, but I plan to.
I consider that good as done.
Okay.
So we want to move forward with this anyway. And so what is this system anyway? It's the galvanizing and metallizing with a top coat. And if you have an existing bridge, what we've tried in Florida is we've gone in, we've blasted them clean, we've done our surface preparation, we put in metallizing, and then we put in a high-performance coating system on the top. The theory being that the top coat will take time to deteriorate, and then you'll still have the metallizing underneath. Now, galvanizing is in there because if you're building a new bridge, which is really the way to go if you want to extend your service life, is start out with a good coating system. You can hot dip galvanize your smaller components. I understand it It may be superior to metallizing, at least that's what I understand. But you can't hot dip galvanized girders because the vats are only about 50 foot long. In Florida, we have like 140 foot long drop-in spans for our continuous girders, and you end up having to metallize. And then they won't look exactly the same, but we're going to top coat it anyway, and that's where we want to go. Have we done this yet? No. Do I want to get there? Absolutely. So, what does this project really mean? We want to promote research to study improved durability of steel bridge structures through effective use of duplex coating systems. We want to track implementation and success of projects using duplex coating systems. We want to participate with the National Steel Bridge Alliance in the development of duplex coating systems, and we are. The National Bridge Preservation Partnership, the NSB, National Steel Bridge Alliance, yeah, I lost it for a second. They are writing a duplex coating specification. But we think that, and we have to have one on the public end over there, but we're riding off of this and trying to live with their energy. The National Steel Bridge Alliance feels as though duplex coatings is something that's going to allow them to compete better with concrete down the road. And we're not favoring steel over concrete. We are favoring competition. If they can become more competitive, we're all behind it. So, want to increase participation and liaison with other groups. We've done this to some degree. AASHTO Subcommittee on Bridges and Structures, I'm a member of that. AASHTO Subcommittee on Maintenance, Mr. Milton is a member of that. We have a member who's the AASHTO Subcommittee of Materials, and I don't remember who that is. We haven't got one on the AASHTO Subcommittee on Construction, but I'm going to be pursuing that this year. NetPep and Transportation Research Board, we have people that are basically involved in that. Want to increase participation with liaison and industry groups, such as the National Steel Bridge Alliance, SSPC, NACE, consultants, suppliers. We have those connections. We do not have contractors. And I'd love to have a contractor, because anything we're going to do to affect the contractor community, they should be involved in, because they're going to come back later on and we're going to change things. We're going to introduce warranties or something and say, why are you doing this to us? Let's get them involved up front. Hopefully, if we could find one or two to participate, it would be helpful. And we're going to do it with or without their help. So if you know any of them, tell them we're moving forward with this. So they might as well get on board, get what they want. Promote the development of improved specifications. So and also promote the development of implementation of high-performance coating systems. That's where we're headed in the future. So some of our challenges in our strategic plan. We need to determine the direction of the group moving forward. This is a dynamic group, and it changes all the time. Want to increase industry participation. Find a way to involve the contracting community and revise our strategic plan as needed. We have one. It consists of, it's a traditional strategic plan. It has vision, mission, goals, strategic objectives, work plan, and actions. We're going to tweak it this year, and I'm sure we'll tweak it again next year, because we finally finalized one last year, and we've deviated from it. But that's to be expected, because you really got to go where you can do the most, have the most impact. But it's a living plan, and we're going to keep at it. So, who is on this group? Some of you folks in this room may see your name up here, and you may not be as active as I would like anyway. And I would encourage you to participate. Really, industry has been driving this group more than the state agencies. So I'm going to go through the names anyway. I'm Jeff Pouliot. I'm Florida DOT. I'm the chair. Wayne Senek of Termarust Technologies is here somewhere. There he is. He's our vice chair. Regis Doucette from Chloride, who's not here, is our secretary. You can see industry is very involved in this group. Atik Alvey of TY Lin. J. Peter Alt, Esley Technology Corporation. He's our tie-in with TRB. He's part of TRB. Mark Barnes, Washington DOT. Graham Bettis, Texas DOT. I've been talking to him over here. We're pulling him in. You're coming, aren't you? Yes, he's coming. Charlie Brown, Maryland State Highway Administration. Derek Castle, Sherwin-Williams. Jeff Carlson, American Institute of Steel Construction. He's also our NSBA contact. Aaron H. Darcy, North Carolina DOT. I know you tried to get out of this, and I thought I took your name off the list, but just be aware of one thing. The National Bridge Preservation Partnership is like the Roach Motel. It's easy to check in, and it's hard to check out. Jay Wynn Darden of AG Glass Company. Steve Duke, Florida DOT. He's our expert on steel fabrication. Wayne Fleming, Virginia DOT, one of Jeff Milton's counterparts, a very active member, very helpful. Ted Hopwood from the Kentucky Transportation Center, the superstars of research in this area. Brian Hunter, North Carolina DOT, Mark Hudson, Sherwin-Williams, Kevin Irving, who's here somewhere, right there, from AZZ Galvanizing Services, Bruce Johnson, Oregon DOT, an important member because he's also the chair of T9, Jim Kunkel, Society of Protective Coatings, Bobby Mead, Kentucky Transportation Center, Jeff Milton, the Energizer Bunny right over here, Ron Mondor, who's also in the room, Termarust Technologies, Dan Muller, North Carolina DOT, Shannon Pohl, International Zinc Corporation, Thomas A. Stevens, Baton Rouge Department of Public Works, Justin Thompson, Georgia DOT, Paul Vinnick, Florida DOT, who's I've leaned on heavily throughout this, Ed Welch over here, TSP2, and Jonathan Fisher, who works for me, who does a lot of the organization. This is to prove that we actually do have some big steel bridges in Florida. This is one of those bridges that Richard was talking about in District 2 over the St. Johns River. It's the Isaiah D. Hart Bridge in Jacksonville, Florida, through truss with suspended deck. It's a little over 1,000 foot long over the St. Johns River, and this is a green aliphatic polyurethane. It's a beautiful bridge, and it's a beautiful coatings project, and we do like steel bridges in Florida. Most of what we're doing these days are curved girders or curved steel box girders. And that's it. I'll entertain questions if we have time. Do we have time, sir?
So Jeff, in Texas, we're definitely interested in the metallizing and the galvanizing, and we've tried a few projects, and in particular, we're interested in new construction. And I was very interested to hear you say that NSBA is forming a spec or working on it. And Kevin Irving and a few other people in this room saw me get completely annihilated at an NSBA meeting when I brought that up as a potential move away from the traditional coding system. So is NSBA on board with this now nationally? Because that doesn't seem to be filtering down to all the local.
NSBA is actually coming up with a tighter galvanizing spec also, because painters have to be certified. So there's a group of galvanizers and American Galvanizing Association, a lot of smart people that are actually working on that, and they're also having a metallizing group also. So they're really forthcoming with some much better specs.
They're having teleconference. I think they're actually go-to meetings, if I recall. And I will forward it to you. And since I'm almost as old as Richard and I'm getting a little forgetful, if I don't do that the next week, just drop me an email. I'll make sure you get included. Is that it? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Jeff.